Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bib. I'm your host, Lisa Watkins, and I am delighted to be here with you all in this middle of the day, in this middle of the afternoon, in this middle of the long run. However you are listening to me, I am delighted to be here with you. First and foremost, thank you all for everyone has liked, commented, shared, especially those of you who have downloaded episodes of Behind the Bib on Spotify or on your preferred podcast platform. That really and truly does help me get this content out in front of other folks, especially if you download and share it. So if you enjoyed this episode at the very end of it, or maybe if you're just like, hey, this girl doesn't know what the heck she's talking about, give it a listen. I'm good with that too. Share it with somebody. I would love it forever and a day. Shout out to all the Huntsville area runners that participated in the Liz Hurley 5K this past weekend. This was a wonderful race with over 6,500 runners, and what a terrific charity that it benefits. The 22nd annual Liz Hurley Ribbon Run was held on Saturday, October 18th, and we had over 6,500 runners, not just 6,500 runners, but we had 6,500 runners, all of the survivors that did the survivors walk before the race, and then all of their friends, their families, their support network that came with them all. So downtown Huntsville was absolutely packed to the gills in every shade and hue of pink that you could imagine. And there cannot be a better cause for everyone to have showed up. All of the donations, all of the registrations, everything that is raised from the Liz Hurley Ribbon Run goes to support the Breast Cancer Foundation. And so what they do is they take this money, they purchase equipment like 3D breast scans. They purchase software upgrades that they need desperately. One year, they even use the funds to install a robe warmers for everyone that's coming in to do their mammograms, because so you don't have to put on one of the little cold sheets. You actually get a robe that is warmed, and it's like it just does wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things for our community. Congratulations to everyone that ran that race. Congratulations to Eric Keegan, Maverick Striders. If you guys remember, earlier in the summer, I interviewed Eric for his race, his 5K that his hosted called Run with Kenyans. And so congratulations, Eric, for that win. Also coming up just after Eric was Harrison Morris representing CFD Research, as well as Josh Whitehead. Those were the first, second, and third place winners of the Liz Hurley Ribbon Run 5K, as well as Kelsey Hodges, who took the first place female. Congratulations to everyone, whether you placed first, second, third, or if you brought up the rear with the sweepers, you all contributed to this wonderful foundation that the Liz Hurley Ribbon Run 5K benefits to do such wonderful work in our community. I hope you all enjoyed your time. I know this was some people's very first 5Ks. I talked to a few girls at the beginning of the race. So congratulations, whether it was your 500th 5K or your first 5K. I hope you had a wonderful time, and there couldn't have been a better race to benefit. All right. And today, boy, we have such a big discussion. For those of you who don't follow ultra running, this past week was huge in the ultra running community. Now, I am not an ultra runner. I guess I'm not an ultra runner, but one of my marathons clocked in at 27 miles. So does that make me an ultra runner? I don't know if it does, because my medal actually says 26.2. Anyway, I digress. Today we have a big discussion because this past week was Big's Backyard Ultra. So think Leadville, think UTMB, think Big's Backyard Ultra. And if you don't know what Big's is, well, today is the episode for you, because we are going to go all in on what Big's is. And listen, I am not the expert. I do research in advance of these podcasts. I try to do all of the things and research, and I write it out, and I write a script and everything, and I follow that. And so that's why you see me often looking up at the screen for my notes and things like that. So I am not an expert on bigs. So if I say anything in this podcast that you're like, yo, that is exactly not how it happens, leave a comment for me and I would be happy to correct it. In fact, I would encourage you to do so. Before we jump all the way in onto bigs, if you've ever stared at your watch, your Garmin watch in your life, well, the Coras aren't as judgy as Garmin. I think Garmin is just very, very judgy, and there's literally nothing I can do to please Garmin. I'll come back and it will say unproductive, or I'll come back and it will say overreaching. And I'm like, WTF, Garmin, I can't please you. Anyway, if you've ever looked at your Garmin and thought, why am I doing this again? This episode is for you because Big's Backyard Ultra would definitely classify as one of those races when you're like, why am I doing this again? Because it is the ultimate test of why. The Big's Backyard Ultra is not your typical race where you cross the finish line and like grab your banana and your bag of chips. In fact, Laz, and we'll go into who Laz is and all that stuff, he has taped a large sign. He's got a blow up archway where he puts a corral on the ground, and he has taped this sign over the archway because the archway has a finish on it, but right in front of the finish, it says there is no. And so this is a race, there is no finish. You run one 4.17 mile loop every hour on the hour until there's no one left standing. Everyone else is marked DNF, but it's not like a normal DNF. You DNF at 250 miles. You DNF at 400 miles. You DNF at 456 miles. So we'll get into all of that. It is simple. It is a little bit maniacal. And it is absolutely beautiful in this weird, ultra running, ultra crazy way. I think that maybe the only ultra that I have plans to do is the Taco Bell Ultra out in Denver, Colorado next year. We'll see if I can train enough to get that one in. It's a 40 miler, and maybe Strolling Jim. So if Christy ever listens to this episode, she'll probably hold me to it. But here is banking that she doesn't. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about the history of Big's Backyard Ultra. This race was started by the legendary Leonardo da Vinci of pain, the maniacal genius behind Little's Backyard Ultra, behind Big's Backyard Ultra, behind the Barkley Marathons, behind Strolling Jim. He is the race director for several ultra marathons. His given name is Gary Cantrell. However, everyone knows him as Lazarus Lake, or Laz Lake for short. It all begins right in Laz's backyard, literally Laz's backyard in Bell Buckle, Tennessee. The starting corral that he draws on the ground is in his yard, and the runners line up at his actual gate. And so if you're wondering, like, why do they call one lap a yard? That's why. It's because the 4.167 miles that is the loop that the runners run is literally Laz's backyard. And so he says it only makes sense to call one lap a yard. And so that's why if you're ever watching the YouTube live streaming or anything like that, that's why they say completed 15 yards, completed 16 yards, completed 17 yards. But the thing is, you have to multiply each one of those quote unquote yards by 4.167. Okay, so a little Laz math, if you will. Okay, so the concept is that this race is equal part brilliance and madness, and that doesn't sum up Laz Lake in 2 words. I don't know what does. It is 1 loop per hour, 4.167 miles. If you make it back before the hour is up, then you have the remaining time to eat, cram down as much ramen noodles, as much real food into your gullet as you can. And one of the ultra runners, Harvey Lewis, is well known for taking his 1 minute, 2 minute naps. And so you have from the time that you get back until Laz rings the bell to be back in the corral, you have that time to recover from the previous lap. And then you just do this until nobody is left. And you guys, it takes days. This time it took 5 days for people to finish. And I'm telling you, it's 5 days of continuous. It's not like they stop when it's 6 p.m. and then they pick up at 6 a.m. No, it's going 24 hours. And so the runners, the crew, everybody, this is a hellacious race. And the folks that come out on the other side of it, hats off to them, because some heroes wear gaiters and not capes, because it is honestly incredible to watch these runners show up lap after lap after lap. This race is not about speed. This race is about who can keep going when that inner voice just keeps telling you, it's time to stop. It's time to stop. It's time to stop. Laz Lake is famous for saying things like just one more, which means just one more lap. Failure has to hurt, which was a really interesting one. And it's easy until it isn't. So if you guys haven't picked up the book, The Endurance Artist by Jared Beasley, this is a must read. I'm going to hold it up to the camera here. This is the book that I interviewed the author, Jared Beasley, as well as Lazarus Lake, up at Monticello Lodge a few weeks ago. And we had like an evening of talking ultra running. And Jared and Laz was both there. People got to purchase the books there. They got to get them both signed by Laz. This year's battle, let's talk about it a little bit. After 5 days, there were 4 runners left. Phil Gore from Australia, who is mentioned in The Endurance Artist. Harvey Lewis, who is also mentioned in The Endurance Artist. John Knoll from the U.S. and Ivo Stayart. And I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He was also mentioned in The Endurance Artist. This runner's from Belgium. So they had already shattered last year's record. Harvey was the 2023 champion. That was, they talk about it in the book. Once he said he couldn't have gone further, and this year he proved it again, pushing deep into the 400-mile range. But eventually, Phil Gore was actually the only one that was left, completing 475 miles. Y'all, 475 miles or 114 laps to become the last runner standing. Let's just pause there for a second. 475 miles. That's like running from Huntsville to Tampa, Florida. Like, I'm just going to go on an easy Sunday afternoon stroll and run from Huntsville to Tampa. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do it continuously, and I'm only going to stop every 4 miles, and only then if I can finish that 4 miles within an hour, right? 475 miles, 114 loops. Phil Gore was the winner from Australia. Harvey Lewis, I think Harvey ended up coming in third this time, but there's a really touching story about Harvey and his friend David. Apparently Harvey was, he was having hallucinations and they had to bring him back from the course. He literally left everything back out on the course because he couldn't make it back to the course. When they brought him back to the course, he was talking a little bit incoherently. They were interviewing him, but then when they mentioned his friend David, who he was trying to to raise money for, he really perked up and he was lucid again, and he was talking about raising money for his friend. And so just hats off to Harvey Lewis. He seems like one of the nicest daggum guys out there. He's a school teacher in Ohio, and he runs to school every day. And so he's not missed a day of running to school, I think, ever. So hats off. He's just one of those other heroes, right, that wear gaiters. I don't even think he wears gaiters, but I'm just using that to identify an ultra runner, right, a trail runner, instead of a hero that would be just wearing a cape. So I'm just equating those little two things. If I had to walk you to that, I'm sorry. All right, let's talk about the women that are in Big's Backyard Ultra this year. Okay, this year's standout women, Sarah Perry and Meg Eckert. Sarah Perry ran 95 laps, just under 396 miles, setting a new women's world record for the backyard ultra format. Megan Eckert, or Meg Eckert, as a lot of people know her, completed 92 laps, smashing her previous best and showing remarkable consistency deep into the race. Laz Lake, every time he does bigs, he posts about what's going on during the race. He shared a very long and thoughtful post this time about women and ultra running. Actually, he was like, I can't believe that I have to keep saying this, but I guess I'm going to keep saying this. It's really interesting. If you've never read one of his posts, go out there to Facebook and look it up. He emphasized that women are not just keeping up, they're redefining what endurance looks like. His big takeaway was that this race format highlights the resilience, strategy, and grit, the qualities where really women excel and consistently excel. He called it the purest test of endurance that we have, noting that gender becomes irrelevant once you're 300 miles in and still standing in that corral. So the big takeaway for the women in the field this year is showing that that endurance truly has no gender. It's about the human capacity to keep going. And this year, women absolutely proved that point. When Phil Gore finally finished that last lap, it wasn't like some big confetti moment. It's in the middle of the night. He comes trotting down the road. People are lining the corrals, and he was greeted by his wife. I don't know if she's his wife or his partner, but he certainly looked at her with like this enduring love. So he was met. There were tears, there were hugs, there were like laughing and kissing. Well, he wasn't laughing. Other folks were laughing. And it was so funny because after the hugs, the tears, the kisses, after all of that, she looks at him and says, "Oh, you stink," which was absolutely hilarious. Man just finished 475 miles, and she was like, "Dude, you stink." And so she is a woman after my own heart. And I guess after finishing 475 miles, I would probably stink too. I could drive 475 miles and I'd probably stink after that. Or fly. That moment of her greeting him summed up everything beautiful about this race. The human spirit, the humor, the endurance, the humility. You could feel the respect between the two, but especially between the two runners. So there's a clip of Harvey Lewis reaching up at all of the runners at the very start of the race. You have to be both feet in the corral that Laz has drawn. And if you are not in the corral when that next bell rings, you are out, right? Doesn't matter if you've gone ahead, doesn't matter. You have to be in that corral. There's a clip of Harvey Lewis reaching up and grabbing a runner who was like running through, and Laz was fixing to ring the bell. He ran like Harvey reached out, grabbed the runner, and dragged him back into the corral, saving him and letting him get another lap. So that's just kind of the guy he is. So Phil Gore said afterwards that he just wanted to see what was possible during this race. One thing that Laz says all the time, may you have the race, like, here, hang on, I'm just going to read you an excerpt out of The Endurance Artist. He concluded by lowering the white sheet of paper in his hand and catching any eyes he could. In the U.S., he said, smiling, we like to say good luck, but I like the way the Japanese say it. May you run the race you prepared for. And I have to say, Phil Gore certainly prepared for this race, and he walked away with 475 miles. And so here, I'm going to finish up by reading you another little excerpt from The Endurance Artist. There it was, 1 year since I last saw it, the arch, inflated and straddling the gravel. It rose over the tents and cut against the dull lavender dawn. The flags were up as well, hung from the barricades on both sides, with every color of the crayon box. Laz stood silhouetted underneath his faded flannel, like guarding a portal. Above him, in the dim light, was that familiar sign, written in magic marker. There is no finish. And you guys, I really just think that this race is just a mirror for life. There is no finish, y'all. There is, in the end, our ability to look within ourselves and say, can we go just one more lap? And that's it. Like you show up for each other and you show up for yourself and you just keep showing up. Just one more lap. Just one more. And hey, if this story inspired you, please go share it over on your podcast platform. There should be like it's a little box with an arrow shooting out of the top. Share it with a running buddy who might need that reminder to just keep going. One loop, one rep, one race, one more training day at a time. Speaking of training and races, let's talk about some upcoming ones. All right, upcoming local races to the Huntsville-ish area. On October 25th, we've got this spooktacular. I cannot wait to show you all my costume. Also on October 25th is the Helping Hands Half Marathon and 5K. On November 1st, the Lobster Fest 5K. Also on November 1st is the Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll 5K and Fun Run. November 8th is the Huntsville Half Marathon. November 22nd is the Dam Bridge Run 10K. November 30th is the Diddle Landing 10K. And December 3rd is the Rocket City Marathon Weekend. And if you're listening and you have an upcoming race you'd like to have mentioned on the podcast, shoot me a DM or email me at lisa@behindthebibpodcast.com. Running and life both come down to showing up when life gets hard. You don't have to run 475 miles to understand endurance. It's this very same spirit that gets you through those long runs, those long weekends, those long drives when you're having to drive 15 hours for a funeral and turn around and drive 15 hours back. So that same kind of endurance, y'all, this is what I talk about when I say that running shows up in life. It just changes everything. It changes fundamentally how you show up in life. Because when you complete one more lap, one more yard, one more rep, one more race, one more mile, it just proves to yourself over and over and over that I can do hard things and I have done harder shit than this. Sorry for the expletive. Now, Phil Gore might have been the last man standing, but every single runner out there proves something about his heart, her heart, and their resilience. His wife's final line was absolutely hilarious. The fact that you stink just kind of kept it real. That's the beauty of running. It's beautiful, and that's the beauty of life, right? Just a little bit of humility. Whether your backyard ultra is a marathon like me, if it's a training block, or if it's just getting through the daggum week, just keep stepping up to the corral, right? That's all I ask, is keep stepping up to the corral, because we can do more than we think we can. Okay, folks, time change is coming up the weekend of November 1st, and that means it gets darker earlier, meaning ladies, go charge your stupid lights now. Please don't run alone if you don't have to. And if you don't have a running vest that lights up, or if you don't have any lights or anything like that, head over to noxgear.com. That's NOXGEAR.com. I don't get anything from this. I just don't want you to be hit by a stupid car in the middle of the dark. Go over there, put Behind the Bib in the discount code box. You will get 5% off of even their sale prices. So if you need anything to help with your visibility needs, go over there. Head over to noxgear.com, grab their light up vest. It is fantastic. I've used it every night run for the last umpteen years. They're wonderful. Do not forget to use the code Behind the Bib, and please don't run alone if you don't have to. If you don't know where to run, I will run with you, or who to run with. I will run with you. And if you don't want to run with me, that's fine. Don't know the local run groups? Head over to HuntsvilleRuns.com, supply your email address, and the awesome Will Nevin will shoot you an email on Sunday afternoon with all of the upcoming run groups, the morning groups, the afternoon groups, the evening groups, as well as the upcoming events. That means races that are coming up around our area. Next week, we're going to have Rocket City Marathon race directors on with a special offer for Behind the Bib listeners. Don't forget. And my friend and mentor, Kyle Walker from the Back of the Pack podcast, will be guest hosting for me in 2 weeks. I'll be at the Every Woman's Marathon, what I've been training for all summer. Special thanks to Kyle. And hey, special note, guys can actually participate in this marathon. It is not exclusive. The Every Woman's Marathon is not exclusive exclusive. You do not have to be a female to participate in it. You can be not female, aka male, but the field is indeed overwhelmingly female. I think they had like 200 male runners last year in Savannah. So just an idea. All right. Also exciting news. Hillary Burgess from Running Up That. Hillary is going to be on to talk about how she dropped 14 minutes from her recent marathon utilizing a run, walk, run strategy. And y'all, she is fast. So if you think the run, walk, run method is just for like slower back of the pack runners, aka me, then you have another thing coming, because speedy McSpeedsters like Hillary Burgess are also using the method to get faster and drop time off of their races. It's not just for those of the back of the pack, it's for the front and the middle runners too. All right, y'all go out there, check out Behind the Bib podcast on Instagram, Behind the Bib on Facebook, and Behind the Bib podcast on YouTube and TikTok. Y'all, thanks for being here. Let's keep showing up for one another, whether you are first, whether you are last, or whether you are somewhere in between. I will see you next time we are Behind the Bib. Y'all take care. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Behind the Bib, where we have real talk for every runner.